Tell me when.
Let me just put the countdown. All right. Well, good day everyone. We're back this week. Aaron was very busy last week, so we had to miss last week, but we are back now.
Yeah.
Back with everyone. Excited. How have you been, Aaron?
Doing pretty good. Just kind of busy. Getting back from the Italy trip. We still kind of finishing up odds and ends and doing yard work and all the is not too fantastically fun to share. But yep, that's what I've been doing. Pretty much trying to get back in order. How about you? Any photo shoots or anything going on with you, David?
I've been just editing dance shoots for the last 2 weeks, trying to get them all ready for order for Christmas. I've had massive Christmas orders from these dance shoots that I do. So I've been just flat out with doing that. So it's been a bit crazy, but enjoying it. So, I want to get all that done before Christmas. I've also got a gimbal came today, so I'm looking forward to reviewing that for everyone. Yeah, I've got another gimbal, Aaron.
Oh my God, you and gimbals and lights. My gosh, I can't keep up with them.
I might sell some of my other gimbals. The other one, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm even meant to sort of talk about it, but it's another Firetech gimbal. It looks really good. I just got it this morning. It came this morning. It looks fantastic. It looks sort of like a mini Weeble S, I think you could say. It looks sort of very similar to that with the handle and all this sort of stuff. So I'm looking forward to having a look at it.
What size cameras does it support?
Well, it'll take up to 2.2 kilos. So, to take your A7 series cameras and a G Master lens. Stuff like that. So cheers too, because I'm going to have a Corona with everyone. This makes me, we were just discussing before we came online about, is it the COPA or whatever it is, rules that are coming out. It's a nightmare for YouTubers. So I'm doing this because then definitely the video couldn't be taken that it's for children. So cheers everyone.
Yeah,
what are you drinking, Aaron? Have you got your coffee?
Oh, yeah. Every time I got a new mug here since we just got back from Italy. We bought 2 mugs from Italy. We buy them everywhere we go travel. Last week I did one that our own Oreo gave me as a gift, which was cool. This one is from a Starbucks Reserve Roastery in Milan, Italy. Milan was the very first roastery. It's like a large Starbucks with a machine in there that does all their roasting. It was like the first big one, and now there's been 5, and now there's a new one, which would be 6 coming up in Chicago, I believe. So that's where I got this mug and the coffee. I don't know what it is. We kind of ran out, so we grabbed some coffee at the store, so it's not the best, but it'll do. So, yeah, I don't know about child-friendly stuff here, but it's coffee. I don't know. I don't know how not to be kid-friendly.
You might need to be. You might need to be doing this. I don't know though. Perhaps you don't. Do you drink, Aaron, or you don't drink?
No, I don't drink, and I don't curse or nothing like that. So I was like,
you're in trouble.
This YouTube thing's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah. You better get off. You better just do the YouTube with me, and then give your other channel away.
I know. I just might. That way we're child safe. Oh man.
Because it's awful. I don't know whether you guys know, but if you follow it on line, anyone that has a YouTube channel now, if you've either got to say that your video is for children, which is under 13, or you've got to stipulate that it's for adults, which is past 13 and up. So you've got to choose one or the other, or you can choose both. But the problem is, the second you choose it for children, you lose nearly all of the money that you can make which isn't much anyway, but you lose nearly all of it. But if you don't stipulate that, like if I say this is an adult show and then they say YouTube, it's not YouTube searches it, it's this COPA or whatever they are, this other organization.
Yeah.
What they do is they look at your channel with robots, and if they find any video that they say then is, yes, this could be for children, or you haven't stipulated it's for children, you can be fined, I think it's $49,000 US per video.
That's it?
Yeah, which is nuts. So all of these, particularly YouTubers that are gamers, there's a lot out there that do Lego type YouTube, and they may sort of be a mix of things. It's awful for those, and I think this has come about because YouTube were fined 60 million or so. I can't remember. They were fined a lot just recently, I think, for putting advertising on children's videos that shouldn't have been there. So they're now throwing it back onto the creators. So it's going to be interesting. So
will this destroy YouTube?
Well, who knows what's going to happen?
Because I'm like, what am I? Now I'm worried about posting stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I don't
Aaron,
know how many other people are.
Like I said, Aaron recently just put up again on the Videography and Video School. He put a video that he made recently where he filmed it, and it's got like mechanical robots. It's a science fiction type movie. Well, if they say that could be suitable for under 13s, that's where you get screwed.
And I didn't say it was.
Yeah, so everyone's now going back to, I notice ASMR videos which are out there, that they're all panicking as well, because they do things like candy and all this sort of stuff that they can be caught up per video, and it's a nightmare. So you've got to make sure.
Is that the sound? What is that you're talking about? Is that like people tapping on stuff?
Yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
Or something like that, yeah.
But what they look at, they're saying that they're looking at things like what's in the video, how colourful it is, whether it could have words like cool.
Oh,
if you use words like cool and stuff like that may attract children.
Man, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, this is the stuff that is nuts about this. Like, you actually read the guidelines, and it is completely open at any moment. Like, YouTube could kick you off if they think you're not following it. And the other thing where this hurts is that the second you then demonetize your videos because you say target it, say, towards children, well, then YouTube don't want you as a channel because you're not making money for them.
Money for them, yeah.
So, it's a really interesting scenario about what's going on. So, who knows? I mean, that's why I'm sticking with this. Cheers, Aaron. You're safe with me.
I'm on this with you. Well, yeah, it's on your channel. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, you know what you might.
I don't know.
You might have to just get this with lemonade. Buy an empty bottle and just sit there and have a.
Yeah, just set it right there. It can't be. It doesn't have to be cold. I don't even have to drink it. It's just there. That's crazy, though.
I love it. I know, it's nuts.
I gotta Google all this now and look at my account and.
Yeah, you need to look at it.
I don't know. So, it's going to destroy YouTube. Who wants to do YouTube now?
It's nuts. So let's see who's here anyway. Langston's here. G'day, Langston. David
Hi, Langston.
is here. Barry's saying good morning, gentlemen.
Bernard.
Ronnie's here. Matthew.
Jim.
Jim's here as well. So there's a few popping in. Like, I didn't have time to even list it this morning, so it's a problem. So that's probably why we're not going to get as many tuning in, but we're up to 40 odd now. But please, if you can, share it, because I didn't even give a notification. I put it up about 3 minutes before we were going to go live. So yeah, because we were running late. Well, I was running late. I was actually out this morning. So, but we got here anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad you got back. Happy to do the show again. Super exciting.
We've got stacks of news, so I think what we'll do is we'll start the show. So, Aaron, you can put the start time in. I'm just going to put the behind the photo logo up, so we'll start that for now.
Where is my thing at? Show start. Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Just had a little bit of a pre-show. How are you, Aaron?
I'm doing good. How are you? And how's everybody in the chat?
Yeah, really good. We've got a few now coming in. Andre's just joined us, and Roberto has as well.
Hey, Andre.
Now, let me just bring up, because I wanted to show the
Roberto.
videography school first. So let me bring that up.
You'll see that your thumbnail of your YouTube channel wouldn't show up for me, so I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, guys, if you can, join this group. We've got this group called Photography Videography School. We're nearly up to 5.7 thousand members now, so we're really starting to hit the big time now.
Yeah.
We usually put things in like the shows live, which Aaron has put down here. Like we've got Aaron has posted a stack of stuff this morning, which is talking about all of his macro work that he's doing. Got some reviews on lenses, everything else. Jim has put some photos up this morning.
Jim Penn, yep.
Yep. Gerald is fantastic. Gerald always
he's really... Yeah.
He's talking about
Gerald.
Godox flash misfires and stuff like that. So this is a site that's for videographers and photographers. Very, very safe. We don't allow anyone to be bullying and things like that. So please join us. I will stick it in the link down below if you haven't joined us on this site, because we'd love you to join it, because it's an extension of basically Aaron and my YouTube channel. And, you know, it's a very, very safe environment. So please join us if you haven't joined us for that.
Whether you're a guy or a girl, a photographer, teen, anybody that want to get into photography, come on in, ask questions. You won't be shamed away by any questions about photography.
Now we've got Billy from Glasgow has joined us. Welcome, Billy.
Hey, Billy, how you doing?
So
how are you doing?
We've got a lot of stories today, so we might get straight into it. Did you, Aaron picked most of the stories today, which was good because I was out. This first story that we're going to look at, Aaron, if you want to put that in the time, is talking about real reasons why camera market is shrinking. Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I watched a video, and I know you've made videos based kind of on certain things like this. We've talked about it in the past, but let me see. Robin Wong did a pretty cool video. We'll leave the link in the description of this the article here, and you can click on the video. It's like a 20-minute video, so I don't remember everything he said naturally. But his main point was let's not blame cell phones for the only reason why camera sales are going down, although that probably is one of a major reason. But the other reason is cameras, he was saying, has peaked to quite a high performance now. Like, you could buy almost any camera, even like 3 years ago, and it's not, I mean, I backgraded to a G9 for the purpose of being that of all these prints that I have and online, I can't tell the difference from any of the cameras I had. So I think what he was saying is that they're so good now that any camera you buy is good, and it's probably good for a long time, and maybe more people are finding that out and not feeling that they need to upgrade for that camera to give them a better picture or whatever like that. And I have to kind of believe that, because here in Puerto Rico, me and David talked about this, almost everybody I know here that's photographers have older DSLR cameras, and I always thought that was strange because I'm always getting the new one, but they always have the old ones. And its reason being, like, why should they upgrade? I mean, they're doing the same work they did 3 years ago as they're doing now. They're still getting paid. They're still everything the same for them. They don't. And when I talk to them, they just go, yeah, I like my Canon 5D Mark II or whatever, and it's true, you know. So this Robin Wong was kind of saying that maybe that the technology has peaked and a lot more people are realizing, like, it's not like giving you so much more, you know. So it's maybe peaked in the last maybe 3 years or so with the image stabilization and all that. Maybe when we get to the what do you call that? The shutter? What's that called? When you don't have a physical shutter in there.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, God. Now I've gone blank on it.
If my friend Tammy's watching, she'll tell us. She always gets in there and tells us what we forget.
Not the leaf shutter. It's, yeah, I know what you mean. So isn't it horrible? I go blank. There's a new shutter.
And then I went blank, and now you went blank. This is a terrible duo, man.
I know.
But anyways, yeah, that will be the next
global
thing,
shutter.
I think. Global shutter,
yes,
yeah. Once the global shutter comes in, I think that will be the next like wow factor, because now you can use flash with no mechanical shutter. So, but right now maybe it's peaked, and that's why. That was one of his reasonings. And he was talking about a photographer that he knows that does wedding. He's a really, I don't know if he's prominent photographer or whatever, but he still uses a Nikon D70 something, one of the first full frame. And when this Robin guy asked him, not in this video, just personally, he asked him, like, why don't you upgrade? He says, I just send it in and get it fixed because it's not going to make me any more money. The clients are still liking my work. They don't know any different, blah, blah. So maybe more people are coming to that thinking of why do I need to upgrade again? You know, a new camera came out again and got to learn a new camera. So I don't know. What do you think about that, David? Do you think that's just one of like 5 points of his?
I mean, this is the exact reason why I'm not buying the A9 II. You know, it's an exact reason why I'm not buying the A9 II. Unless they give us something, because the thing is, unless they give us something that really we need. Like, I need a camera with 4K 60. Like, I am after a camera with 4K 60. So I do need that. But, you know, what I've got already with the A7 III and the A9 is good enough for what I could probably want to shoot with for the next 5 years, really, if I'm looking at it.
Exactly.
I mean, how much better can you really get? Like, unless you have a need, say, when you have the A7 III, unless you have a real need to go out and get a camera that has much more megapixels, like the 60, the A7 III is good enough. And I know these cameras are updates, but do you really need that? This is what I'm saying, and this is what they're saying there. I think in a lot of ways you're probably better off to save the money and buy a better lens, because a better lens will give you way better photography or looking images than, say, upgrading a body will. You know, if you haven't got the money to, say, upgrade to really nice glass like G Master glass or something like that, if you're shooting Sony, that will make a far better difference to your work than what a camera body will. For instance, if you had a really old body and you put amazing glass on it, you will still get beautiful results.
And you're going to get a new lens that's going to give you a new type of photography, and what do you call it? A more excited about certain things. Or, oh, look, I've never had a longer lens. Look at the compression. So then you start getting more artistic with your stuff, and you're just making new and different things. Where a camera body is not going to change that at all. It's just like this flat image sensor, and it's like it looks the same, you know. So I agree with you on that. It's better to get a lens, a different focal length, or something like that, and save the money. I know Tony Northrup always says save the money and go on a trip, or save up to fund a photo shoot or just something like that. Because really, I mean, I just came to that conclusion, just did a video on why I went to the G9. It's just because I don't need it for what I do. Now, I know a lot of people pixel peep, and I think that's the main thing with the digital era is when you shot in film. I kind of started in film. I never developed my own film. I would take it to a store. I could never pixel peep. I can't. I print it out and there it is. Anybody that goes to Macy's, they don't pixel peep the all the photos in there. They don't pixel peep magazine. Nobody pixel peeps nothing. Even photographers probably don't pixel peep other photographers' photos on Instagram or Facebook. The only person pixel peeping is maybe if you're interested in the lens and you go to DP review, maybe you'll pixel peep because you're interested in the lens. But the majority of all of us, I don't think pixel peep all the photos we see. So it becomes really, you know, it's just a wow factor when you have a new camera with higher megapixels or something where you're pixel peeping is like, wow, look at that. But then you just put it back to where it was and you upload it. So I don't think there's a lot of pixel peepers out there that want to buy the new camera just because of pixel peeping. So I know everybody has their own thing and they want to, but that's what he's saying, and I kind of agree with him. Here in Puerto Rico, they're all using old DSLRs, and I ask them why, and they're just like, it takes photos. I mean, why would I upgrade? You know, they're kind of like clueless. So that's kind of dumb to spend that money on it. So that was one of his points. So check out that video. He goes into more points. The other point is you have two general photographers. Some photographers who are just kind of want to get into it and like, oh, let's see how this is. And you've got the real photographer who really wants to learn. And I think he was basically saying that when all the cameras were more affordable, like the DSLR type cameras, a lot of people got them because they can, but they weren't into it. And maybe now they're not upgrading after those major sales just a couple years ago. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just interesting anyways to go watch his video.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is too, and like you said, that there's two sort of types of photographers really. There's these I'm talking about main ones. The main people that buy the upgrades each time they come out are the hobbyists, because usually they're people that have a second job and they're not tied to the photography industry,
That's true,
earning money
true.
from that industry. I can't do that because I've got to justify really everything I do, and I've got to balance the books and do everything else. So as a full-time photographer, I've got to make a living out of what I do in photography. So I haven't got that luxury. And I think you'll find that the people that are the so-called pixel peepers and the ones that are constantly upgrading are more the hobbyists than they are full-time photographers. For instance, most full-time photographers that I know around me, the ones that I'm friends with and everything else, are still shooting Canon 5D Mark IVs. I mean, or even 3.
Same with me.
You know, and that's the thing.
I'm the only one upgrading.
Yeah, full-time photographers cannot afford to do it. They will basically get the use out of their gear before they upgrade. Like a lot of professional photographers will only upgrade once they have a real need to. Say, for instance, like 4K 60 for me, or the camera breaks, and then they'll need to get another one from that. Because really, if you think about it, the images that I'm capturing now are going to be as good as the image I capture in 5 years' time, because the cameras are going to be exactly the same. So, you know, and I think that is hurting the industry.
Well, the cameras might be different, but the delivery format's going to be the same.
Yep.
The magazines, I mean, they're going to stay that size, and they're kind of going out, I guess, you know, now a whole bunch of magazines. But prints, I mean, the average person who does anything with photos, that delivery format's going to be the same. So you're going to get more and more megapixels, more and more stuff, and it's the same. And as far as dynamic range, I think of course, that can get better, which means you need even less light. You might not ever have to use a flash and stuff like that. It's going to, I'm sure, happen, and it's just like our eyes, like, wow, I take one photo and whatever. But for the majority of the time, or until that time comes, I think the cameras 4 years ago are good enough for 5 years to go. It's just it depends on what you do. Now, in my video, my last one, I said, if you're someone who is shooting in low light situations, you can't use flash, you don't want to, or you don't know how to, or whatever the purpose is, and that's you get paid doing that, then when a new camera comes out that's better in low light, then maybe that's something that you should upgrade to. But the majority of the people, I don't think, are in those niche-y type things that have to get that, 20 more megapixels out of it, or better ISO or something like that. So I don't know. But go check him out. He actually was saying that you said something. The guy that still uses one of the first full-frame Nikon cameras, he uses it today in almost 2020 here for wedding photography. When his breaks, he actually sends it in and gets it fixed to Nikon. So he doesn't even buy a new one. So he says it's cheaper for me to send it in and get it fixed than to buy a new one and learn a whole new camera and all that. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's probably something that may get with sort of the way the economy is very tight at the moment for everyone. Like I said, particularly unless it's much easier for someone that has a second job that is not doing what sort of we're doing full time. The second you become full time, you can't justify doing that because it's so much money that you're taking out of your annual budget.
And you got to learn it.
Yeah, and you've got to learn it. But you've got to also think about what happens if 6 months' time you go quiet or whatever. So you've always got to try and have a backup money there in case if things go quiet or things go bad. If you've got a full-time job as well as doing photography, well, you haven't got that issue because you've got that money that's coming in from a side aspect. If you're a full-time photographer like we are, you've got to be very careful on what you spend your money on. It has to be justified for the business and make a difference. Like if it won't make a real difference to the way you shoot or the type of work that you're doing, you really probably
or it won't make you more money.
Yeah. You've got to think about money.
Now, like you, like you would like that 60p because it would actually save you some time because you can keep everything at 60p and you don't have to change around and then deal with these different formats. So that is probably a good investment, that everything's streamlined to 4K 60p, and then you can edit it like that, and it's slow motion, all that stuff. So I think something like that is something that would be likely upgrade. After that, what would you upgrade to? What would make you upgrade to a new camera, David?
Well, it's only, like I said...
Like what features? Besides the 60p?
If the only other thing probably that would make me do it is I'd love a better screen on the back, and that's why the EOS-R is interesting me, but not at this stage because it's only got one card slot. I'm going to talk about a high-ended model later on. I would not switch from Sony because I've got too much investment in it, but I certainly am seriously thinking about getting an EOS-R if they bring out a high-end version that has a much better screen at the back with a better interface. And that sort of interests me. Yeah, because I think the screen on the Sonys, it sucks. Let's face it.
Yeah, it really does. When I come back to the Panasonic G9, I was like, wow, it's for one, it's just beautiful looking, and then the whole thing's touch. It's just like a phone. I mean, you can double tap. Like if I want to check the focus, double tap, whoop, comes in, double tap goes out. If I took a group shot, I can just scroll across. I mean, it's just like it really does make it easy, and I just can't believe Sony doesn't have that yet. So in order for you to upgrade to a new Sony model, it would have to have some of those features before you do it, or are you just going to stick with
No,
what you have?
that's what I've got to think about because if I'm thinking about, I do need another video camera. Like I need something else. I've got the A7 III, which I love, and the A9, which I love. Like I said, I'm not going to switch, but I would love to get a third video camera that I can use. And whether that's something like a Canon EOS-R that hopefully they don't have the triple hammer in it, and I'm interested in getting I would love to get a camera that has better like CF fast cards, express cards or something like that, just for more reliability and speed. I'd love to get, like I said, a better monitor on the back. Because I use that all the time now. I very rarely use the EVF unless I have to, and I really would like a better screen at the back that I can really judge sort of focus and things like that on. So that's probably what I'm looking at. And I'd also love to have a play around with something like the Canon lenses. Like that sort of, I've always had this thing about the 85 1.2.
Point two, you always said that.
And that I've always said that, and that's one thing that I would love to get. But also coming from a YouTuber's perspective, it would be good to have two systems that I could say do a review occasionally on the Canon, and
more
also
content.
then all my the Sonys, that I can get more content for people to sort of come to the channel. I suppose you limit yourself if you just go down one avenue completely, which is what I have. You do limit yourself a little bit, so I would like that. I don't think I'm going to switch because I'm not, but I'd love to have another option that I could also look at. So Langston says, why no Blackmagic video camera? Langston, because I want a full frame camera. For me, I love.
And you want photos
frame
too, right?
Yeah, and I want photos. Yeah, it's got to be, whatever I buy has to be a hybrid camera. So it's got to be able to give me stills and video at the same time. So that's why I wouldn't go for something like the Blackmagic camera. But I mean, look at Aaron. Aaron loves his Micro Four Thirds camera. So we all want different things.
Yeah, and I used to have the Blackmagic, but actually, even to date, with the cameras I've had, that still has the best quality video that I've had on any camera. I haven't had every camera in the world, of course, but all the ones that I've had, still today has the best just looking a video image that I've ever had before. However, because it's not a hybrid, I'm just like, because I slowly started doing more photography than video, and so that's why I don't have the Blackmagic. Because if I ever get any other camera, there's always going to be a hybrid for me. I think David just said the same for him too.
And the other thing too, the Blackmagic, I know they take all your Micro Four Thirds lenses, don't they?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is good, because I mean, at least you have that, that open platform that is there. So,
then you have the adapters and the speed boosters and all that stuff. So pretty good.
All right, so let's go on to the next one anyway, because this is interesting. This is talking about this new Canon EOS-R that potentially there's rumors about. And it just says Canon is working on a Pro EOS-R with hybrid EF RF mount. Now, I'm going to talk about this because I don't believe this, and I think this would be a stupid move. But if you read it, what they're saying is that it's going to, at the moment, they're totally different mounts. The RF and the EF mount are totally different. But you can buy an adapter to put on this. And this is interesting because what they're saying in here is that, and I don't know how, there's only one way that this can possibly happen, really, is that because see, the gap, the distance between the lens and the actual sensor is different with both mounts. So the only way this would work is if they brought out a way for the sensor to move in and out to match whatever was going on with whichever lens you put on there. But why I think this is stupid is because this system works really well with their adapter. The actual adapter, I've used the EOS-R with the adapter, and if you check Canon comments, they work just as good as if they're put on a normal Canon camera. The adapter is really good. So there's no need to bring out a hybrid EF to RF mount. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Yeah, Patrick said the flange distance is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me at all. And all you're going to do, if you're going to have something that's going to move a sensor in and out, it's going to be something that could potentially break. It's another moving part, which is what you don't need in a camera, because that will be a weakness. And I just don't believe that. But what I do think will happen, so I think this is basically a false rumor that's going to be there. It doesn't make sense to me at all when you've got the EF mount adapter that you can put on that works as good as a native lens. So that doesn't make sense. Good. So what I think will happen is you're going to have, obviously dual card slots has to be the number one thing that comes out of this, because at the moment we're only limited to one card slot.
Yeah, and they have to come out with dual.
And Aaron, they have to cut this ridiculous crop. Like if they put similar specs in that they've just announced in their 1DX, this would be a killer camera. Remember, you've got, the other thing too, Aaron, that this would give me is a fold-out rear screen. So, you'd have a front-facing rear screen.
It's so helpful.
So that's another reason why I would say love to get something like an EOS-R for being a YouTuber. I know my A6400 has it where it flips up, which I love, but I would still love a fold-out screen. Which is a better screen, like I said, proper touch and everything else on it. So I think what you're probably going to find is it'll have the dual card slots. Hopefully it will have the 4K 60 without the crops and better bit depth. That's what's probably going to be coming out in this camera. So if it is a mirrorless version of the 1DX, I think even though it will be expensive, I think it would sell like crazy. And I think that's probably where the future is of this, and I think it's probably going to come out sometime this year. Now, next year. The reason why I say this is because the lenses at the moment don't match what the body is. The body at this stage does not match the expense of those lenses. They are very expensive lenses, but if you look at any reviews that are out there, the lenses that Canon make are probably the best that there are available, if I'm talking about full frame. So I think you'll probably find they'll bring out a really good body. It'll have IBIS built into it probably, which it hasn't got at this stage. The dual card slots. And then I think Canon would be on a winner. Like I said, they may be on be sleeping giants in that regard, because if they do bring out something good, it's got the Canon name, which will sell.
Yeah, well, I think you're right about that. And if they do everything that you were just saying, yeah, they could take number one easy, especially you've been noticing more Canon users or people switching to Canon. So if they just came out with what you just said, yeah, I think that would do really, really good for them. And but I don't know, because every time we think they're going to do something, they don't. This could be one of those 1DX cameras that people get and then they use for a long time. So all those people that I said I know in Puerto Rico that are using older Canon, this might be that one that you just hang on to for a long time because it would have all those features, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure what's going on in the industry at the moment, though. Like I said, I'm hearing so many people switching back to Canon that I'm not sure people aren't being paid to switch. And I discussed this the other day, because there's a lot of it I keep hearing.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it.
I keep seeing and hearing a lot of it at the moment. So I'm not convinced that Canon isn't paying people to switch over, which I discussed this the other day, and I think it's not ethical if people are doing that and they're sort of making people switch. And
you think that's happening though?
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me.
Oh man, that would be terrible.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me because it seems to happen. We all know, we've seen it before when people have gone out and promoted cameras like, what was there, the 6D at one stage. Peter,
what's that one guy's name?
Peter, who came out saying he was switching to that one and all that sort of
Peter,
stuff from his 1DX.
I don't remember his name,
but honestly, I'm not sure if that's what's happening or not. But but it's interesting. I mean, I think Nikon obviously are in trouble due to the fact that their sales are just dropping and tanking. I think Canon and Nikon both waited too long to come into this marketplace.
Yeah, you were saying that on your other video.
Nikon should have brought out a dual card slot camera from the beginning. The price you're paying for that camera,
I don't know, yeah.
There's no excuse. They should have done that.
They put all that effort into making a pretty darn good camera.
I know.
And then if they just did that, they could have been right in the game, kind of right there.
Yep.
But now they have to, spend all this other time and make a new camera and then release it, and they're losing all this ground and all this. So, yeah, that was silly, man.
Yeah, it's I really
Super
don't
silly.
understand it. And like even Canon, I just do not understand. I think holding back on features now will just hurt you. And these camera manufacturers have to understand that if you do that, you're going to be hurt in sales. And what's the worst thing you can see? If your sales are dropping like this, you have to give more than what your clients want, because you've got to. It's like with me, with my business, I always try to exceed the expectations that my clients want, and therefore you'll hopefully, and hopefully you'll get more jobs. But what they're doing at the moment, Canon and Nikon, is they're holding back, and all it's doing is hurting them. And I just don't understand the execs.
Yeah, because they're making the.
I know. Yeah.
People are making videos saying, like, did you see what this camera has? And Michael the Maven or whatever, he came out with one of the first videos saying something about it. I can't remember what it was. And yeah, it's just like they're producing videos that are saying that their cameras are being held back. So that's just going to give a bad word for them. So yeah, they hopefully they just turn around with this next, what was that called? The EOS what?
Well, I think
the Pro EOS-R?
Yeah. Pro
whatever that's going to be.
But they'll probably come out with a number or something. But, I mean, if you look at it, the real companies that don't seem to hold back, really, are Panasonic. They don't seem to hold back on any of their systems.
They've never did.
Yeah, and also Fuji don't seem to hold back
Fuji.
either. They're the two companies. Sony are tending to do it a little bit now, which is worrying. I mean, how long have we been waiting for an A7S 3 to come out, for instance? So Sony have been holding back a little bit lately as well, but sort of Fuji and Panasonic and Blackmagic, are all cameras that don't seem to hold back, and that's what camera companies need to do. If you're not selling well, you've got to make people want to buy your camera. Exactly.
That's just the bottom line right there.
Yep.
Bottom line.
So the next story, you might want to talk about this, Aaron, seeing that you are buying some Olympus lenses for your Panasonic.
Okay, let's see.
Because it's talking about Olympus has updated its lens roadmap with 3 new lenses due out in 2020.
Well, it's why I wanted to post this is Olympus said that they're going to be making, I think, don't quote me on this, but 2 bodies a year and 3 lenses a year. So it's cool that they put this roadmap out for 3 new lenses. That means they're probably not going anywhere soon, because we heard the rumor that they're going to be selling out or whatever. But maybe they're putting this out here just so people don't go selling stuff or not buying. I don't know what. But anyways, they've got 3 lenses coming out for next year. But unfortunately, none of these lenses excite me, because none of the lenses are within anything that I do. These are like, let's see if I can read this without my glasses. We got a 12 to 45 millimeter f4. Then we've got, which is a Pro, which is going to probably be really sharp and weather sealed, and they're built real, quality is really good. Then there's going to be a 100 to 400 millimeter f5.6 to 6.3. image stabilization, I think that says. And then there's going to be the third one, 150 millimeter to 400 millimeter.
That looks
4.
beautiful.
5.
That lens looks gorgeous.
Yeah, the lenses are really, really good. But when I shoot, I'm not interested. So for me, the next year, Olympus doesn't have anything for me. If you're a wildlife shooter or sports, I mean, this is really exciting if you like Olympus stuff, because these lenses look really good. I mean, look at that. What are they seeing? I think I'm sharing my screen and I'm not. Oh, there. Yeah, so it looks really good. So
what lenses have you got, Aaron? What Olympus lenses have you got?
The only lenses I only got a few when I got the G9, and that is the what is that one? That's the third, 12 to 24. And this little pancake lens, 20 millimeter.
Yep.
This is one of the sharpest lenses in micro four thirds. I mean, it's like ridiculous, right? And I've had that before. And then I've got the Olympus 45 millimeter lens as well. And really, that's, I did many videos on Sony. I don't use a lot of lenses. I just juggle around a couple, and that's all I need. So when they came out with the 3 new lenses, like none of them basically what I use. I usually use the portrait length lenses. Now you have a long lens, don't you? Or is it just the 135 is all you have?
No, I've got the 70-200.
Oh, so you do got a 70-200. Do you ever use that focal
length? Not now.
length?
No, not now, because I...
Why?
Well, I just love the 135 so much. I don't want to put that down. Like the only reason why I'd use the 70-200 is if, like, Kerry likes it when we do weddings, because she'll be roaming around and she's got that range of, say, going between 70 to 200. I haven't touched that lens in probably 12 months. And, because the thing for me is I love to use the primes. I love to use the 24, the 85 Batis, and then the 135. They're the lenses that I adore to use. I'm not a real big fan, really, of using zoom lenses. I prefer to shoot primes. So, and that's the thing for me. So I don't really like to use the 70-200 because I have such a love for the 135. I'd prefer to use a 135 and crop in a little bit if I had to, because I hate to put that lens. I don't like taking that lens off the camera. The only zoom lens I like using is the Tamron 28-75.
Yeah, see, that's me. When I'm on Micro Four Thirds, I feel like I have to do the primes just because it's, if you're using a 2.8 zoom lens like I'm filming this on now, it's great for a lot of different things. But even if you zoom into the 70 millimeter full frame equivalent at an f5.6 shallow depth of field full frame equivalent, it just doesn't give you enough juiciness from that photo. And I'm not like a crazy person that I need like a lot of depth, shallow depth of field or blurry backgrounds. I found on the Sony cameras that the Tamron, as everybody knows, the 28-75 millimeter zoomed in at 75 millimeter at f2.8 is absolutely is a sweet spot for me as far as shallow depth of field is concerned, and still getting both eyes in focus, even if it's kind of turned like this, like just this half starts, staying in focus, and I actually like that. So when you're trying to get that on Micro Four Thirds, you really do have to go with prime lenses, because most of the prime lenses are f1.7, f1.8, or f1.2, which if you do the multiplication of times 2, you're right up there and around that f2.4, f2.8, which is completely good for me. So yeah, I tend to use primes on the Panasonic Micro Four Thirds, but on the Sony, I was completely happy with the Tamron, even though it was a zoom lens, and I usually like primes, but that Tamron just really did wonders for me. So as far as telephotos like these, 75 millimeters was just 75 millimeters for me. Can I share my screen or no?
Yeah, you should be able to try it and see.
Let me see if this works. I'll show you what 75 millimeters. Maybe I don't remember how to do it, David. Let's see. Share screen. Start sharing. Can you see it? The photo?
I'll tell you in a second.
I see a red box around it.
No, let me just see if I can add.
Maybe I broke the whole.
Yeah, it's only still showing you, so it's not going. But let me just see if I can. It worked, but it's not doing it now, which I don't know why. I'm seeing it, but you're not seeing it. Yeah, I see it, but it's not changing in this program. So it's weird because it's still got you. So you're back now on the thing there, but yeah, I don't know why it won't do it. Because you did work last time, because I remember we did it.
Yeah, I don't remember what I did. Now what do you guys see? Anybody see it?
I only see you.
That's weird.
So it's not switching, which is weird.
Oh, well. Anyways, let's stop sharing that. But anyways, it was, 75 millimeter f 2.8. I mean, the background blur is good. One thing I've noticed, and I've always talked about shallow depth of field and how YouTube blew it up, like you're only a pro if you shoot wide open, and that's all you shoot at no matter what it is. And it's like got out of hand. And when I first started photography, I remember what shallow depth of field, what they kind of taught in the books, from what I've seen. I mean, that was the path I took, where you want the human eye, when it looks at something, will automatically your eyes are automatically going to go to either something colorful in a scene, or something sharp in a scene, or something contrasty in a scene. And to get that in a photo, this was the days of old, and from what I've learned, that if you focus on your subject, let's say it's a model, and she's in focus, the background doesn't have to be completely smeared out of smithereens to have a separation thing, because that's what I hear in all these blogs, like, oh man, you need to shoot at f1.2 on the full frame because that'll give you separation. No, if it's just like, let's say an f4, a medium shot at an f4 is enough for the human eye automatically to go the sharpest thing in the scene, which would be whatever you focused on. And I think that was kind of a disconnect. A lot of people are just talking. This aperture opening everything, it just kind of got out of hand.
It's only photographers that do that, Aaron. It's only photographers that demand shooting wide open.
But the human eye, I wanted to show you guys a photo of my wife at a waist up at 2.8 at 75 millimeters. So it's not even a telephoto with a lot of compression. And your eye automatically goes to her because she's the only thing in focus. And the background is way blurry enough for me. So I don't know where I was going with this. I think I was going with more of the Olympus is coming out with zoom lenses. I don't think I need that because I usually do portrait lens. And why I'm going to continue to use prime lenses on the Panasonic only because of f1.2 is like a 2.4, which I was happy with the 75 millimeter, all that stuff on the Sony. So for me, kind of went off on a rabbit trail. I'm not excited about the Olympus lenses.
All right, so let's go to the next story, which is the Fujifilm. You wanted to discuss these, Aaron. There's two of them. This is interesting because Fuji have said here that the new Fujifilm camera with CFexpress cards coming mid to late December. Now,
well, if we can go back real quick, look at this, though. Let's go back one story, David. I think I might have had it wrong on the list. This is just a real quick thing. You could stay right there.
Which is the XH2?
There was an article. Yeah. There's an article saying that the food. Okay, they're kind of going together. That's why I put them in the show here. It says the Fuji XH2 is definitely not coming in 2020, or will it ever come? So I read that. I said, okay, so they're not going to do an update to the XH2, which so many Fujifilm people were hoping for, and I was too, because there's a couple things that they need to iron out, especially longer battery life and things like that. So, and like a full flippy screen type thing. So I read that like, oh, so maybe this is all rumors, of course. So it's not coming out. And then we see the next article when I was just browsing articles and David just started talking about it. Now they're saying that the new Fujifilm camera with CFexpress cards is coming mid-late December. So it's coming out this month. So I was kind of confused. They're not coming out with the XH2, which was a rumor, and now it looks like this is another rumor. They're coming out with a Fujifilm this month that's going to take CFexpress cards. And the interesting thing about this is this article is talking about Nikon and the new Nikon and Canon, I guess, can take the CF card slots, and they only need a firmware update to use these new things or whatever. But the Fujifilm don't have any cameras that have this. So if Fuji's talking about using this, they have to be coming out with a new camera by the end of this year. So I thought that was kind of a surprise or a shock to me. If anybody knows more about this, and I just saw this before the show, is Fuji coming out with a new camera this month that's going to use these cards? And then, David, you were saying that you would like to have a camera that uses, is this the card you were talking about?
Yes, the CFexpress. I think that's probably the future, is using this card. I'm surprised the A9 II didn't have it, really.
I was too. Can you tell us a little more about those cards? Because I don't know anything about them.
They're just much more robust and also way faster. Way faster than what you can use on an SD card.
Even the fast SD card, the fastest?
Yes, much. I think the fastest is only 300, Aaron. This is 1600 megabits per second.
Yeah, 1600.
Yeah, Ooh. So they're incredibly fast. And it's 120 gigabytes inside. Like, it's ridiculous. This will be the future for video, particularly. Yeah,
for video.
Go this way and stuff like that. But it's
with
interesting
the higher bit rates and all that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that. That they're saying Fuji is going to bring out a camera with that. Just on a side note, there was a couple of questions I wanted to answer. Was that someone asked what was the best macro lens for Sony, and I said the 90mm is probably the best one that's out there. Sigma also do that great 50mm-ish one as well. But there's another one as well down here where Matthew said, "Hi David and Aaron, what do you think is better for the Sony a6600, the Sigma 30 1.4 or the Sony 30 1.8? Are there any focus problems with the Sigma?" They're both great lenses. The Sigma 30mm is amazing.
Yeah.
Have you used any of those,
And for the
Aaron?
price? No, I never did, but I've read a lot about it, and everybody seems to like it. As far as focusing, like most people say, usually the native lenses usually work faster, but sometimes it's like not even So sometimes it depends on the lens. Sometimes it's not even noticeable. But specifically that one, I have no idea. Have you heard of any focusing issues on that Sigma?
Only if you're doing video, but I can only sort of take it to by, I'm using the Sigma 16 now, and I love that lens. That's one of my favorite lenses. It is as fast as
Which
any
one?
Sony. The
Oh,
Sigma
yeah,
16 mil 1.4. I adore it. The Sigma lenses are really good if you're dealing with particularly the APS-C cameras. Well, even full frame, they're excellent. I used it in a camera store, the 30 Sigma, and I didn't notice any noises at all, and I thought that lens was fantastic. I think if I was looking between the two of those two, I'd probably get the Sony is great, but you're going to pay a lot more. I'd probably get the Sigma 30 1.4 just for the 1.4 aperture. And it seems when I used it, it was fantastic, and I've only seen good reports about it.
They usually are.
You just have to check it for
Sigmas
video.
are pretty good.
Yep, but that's all.
Video. I think in photography, most of the Sigmas are maybe a hair behind. I remember my friend Y'all in Florida. He was saying that his Sigma, which one did he have? The Sigma 130? Is there a Sigma 135?
Yes, there is. Yeah, full frame. Yes.
Yeah, it's that real big one, right?
It's
the
great.
big heavy one.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
You said it was great, but he says it wasn't as good as the Sony 135, so he ended up getting rid of that for the Sony. So, there's conflicting stories. Some people say it's great, like David, and then some people say it wasn't that great. So it's hard to say. I mean, if you can try it out somehow and see if you can return it or try it in the store would probably be best, but I don't know. It's kind of a hard one.
Gerald's
what
here
else?
as well, so
Else?
g'day Gerald, thanks for joining us.
Hey Gerald.
Patrick said theoretically they can do 1700 MBS, that's the CFexpress card, so incredibly fast. Yeah, and Gerald had the Sigma Art 70, yeah, that was the one, and he loved that as well. So that's it. All right, let's go on to this other story, Aaron, which is why I use one lens. And this could be interesting if you'd like to push yourself. There's a whole story here, and like I said, we'll put this down below, talking about why you would just use one lens and nothing else. I mean, you can get some fixed camera that have fixed lenses and stuff like that, but there's a whole story about this. And I think the thing is that sometimes it can be a good thing if you're in a bit of a photography rut. It can be a great idea to use just one lens. Like put, say, something like a 30 mil, or say a 35 mil, a 50 mil, or even the 24 if you have the G Master that I've got there, which I adore. But if you put, say, one prime lens on, and then walk around the streets and force yourself to use that. Now, the reason why I say that is because then you have to think about composition more. You've got to think about using your feet to, like to move in and out instead of using a zoom to move in and out. And it makes you think a totally different way than just having that luxury of having a zoom lens. So having a really good prime on your camera can really make your photography step up, and you've got to really think about what you're doing. And that's what he's sort of talking about in that article. Like he's saying, fewer choices can actually be better because you've got to make a decision on what you're going to do with your shoot. What do you think, Aaron?
When I did a couple videos showing that I did several photo shoots with just a 50 millimeter, and I said, I started really liking 50 millimeter on full frame. Now I don't like 50 millimeter so much on micro four thirds because 50 millimeter on micro four thirds, even if it's at like an f1.7, it just doesn't have enough juiciness there. On a full frame, 50 millimeter 1.8 gave me nice background blur as much as I need in one, and I could literally just run around the 50 millimeter, so much so that I fell in love with the Zeiss 55 millimeter 1.8, and I only took that and one other wider prime, a Rokinon 24, on a whole trip to Europe because the 50 millimeter is so useful. And when you put a prime on there, like David was saying in this article, you can't zoom. So when you put you see an image and you put that camera, like, oh man, you got to step back. And when you start stepping back, I've said this before, you get just a whole different view than if you stood like this, and let's say you're zoomed in, let's say you have the Tamron on and you're zoomed all the way in 75 millimeters, and you pick it up, you go like this, like, oh, I'm too zoomed in, let me zoom out. So you basically kind of stand there and you zoom out to, but that changes compression, it changes all this stuff when you start zooming, and it just doesn't give you, you're letting it do things for you, basically. If you have just the 50 and you bring it up and you can't zoom in, you're going to step back, and now you might see something in a frame you don't want to see, so now you're getting lower, and now you're just starting to see different things changing. And if you have just one prime on there, it really gets you to think, like David said, about the composition. And man, just using a 50 millimeter is really, really amazing. And I could almost do everything with that, except, of course, there's going to be a time where you just got to get wider because you want to see all that. Or if you're doing a wedding, I've done. I was reading articles that wedding photographers only use a 50 millimeter, or they just use a 35. Everybody has their own thing, and you can almost get away with just one lens. But for me, I can't. For like just always, I can't just use one lens naturally. But I really, like I just said earlier, I typically only use like a 24, a 50, and then like an 85-ish, anywhere in between there, and it just makes my life easier. Now I know I use the Tamron a lot, and I went through my last photos that I was in Italy just a while ago, and if you're new to the show and you don't know me, I go out to different locations, vacations, and I photo shoot my wife because she likes to model, and we do these things. And I was looking at all the different focal lengths that I used with the Tamron. I love when I use zooms because I come back and I see what focal length I used. And it's almost always around that 50 millimeters or 75. Very rarely do I use 24. So if you do have a zoom and you want to think about getting a prime, look back at all your photos and look at what focal length you're naturally using with your eye, because you automatically just start doing stuff. And maybe try that, get an expensive prime if you want, slap that on your camera, and like David said, force yourself and go out and just see how you change your photography. And so I thought it was a cool article to bring up because it can really help you in your photography, and you might start liking primes and a specific focal length. So yeah, that's about it, David.
Cool. We'll go to Q&A quickly in a few minutes, guys, but I just wanted to open up my photo. Now, Aaron, if you want to drop your photo into Dropbox while I'm talking, then I could open it up. So let me just open this up. Open. So I thought I'd show this image. Let me just see if I can get this down. Yeah, so I thought I'd show this one. So I thought I'd just show this of Ellie. But I wanted to show this because this was in my Nikon days. So I wanted to show you a shot using a Nikon. And this was shot with the 70-200 millimeter lens as well. I did have a flash on this. Let me just see if I can open up a thing and I can draw on it. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you look, you'll notice too that Kerry was standing just outside of the area out here with the. I was using a pro photo, but you could use anything, and I just had a little grid on it, which it was a Magnum reflector, not Magnum. It was a 2-foot octa, which is sort of your octa shape that you get, and it's got a grid on it because I didn't want to light up anywhere else. I wanted the light to be specifically really just hitting onto Ellie's face, and you can sort of see there where it's hitting. You can tell too because it's slightly darker over this area over here. Very, very sharp. I mean, if I zoom this up, I don't know whether we can. Oh, yes,
looks gorgeous.
It really is nice and sharp if you're looking at it. Oh, I didn't want to do that, but what happens if I do that? Nothing. Let me just see. You can't move it. I've got to move this to move it. It was really sharp, really beautiful lens. You can see the rendering in the background is lovely.
What lens? Sorry?
This was the 70-200. So it was shot with the 70-200 2.8. How do I get rid of that thing?
What focal length were you at?
I can't remember, Aaron, to be honest. I don't think it tells you. Does it tell you in the tools? It might. Show inspector.
Because we're just talking about that 70-200.
I can tell you here, probably. It was done at 1/25 of a second. It was 5.6. Again, 5. I didn't... And the reason why it's 5.6 is because I didn't want to blow out the background. I wanted to show that there was some graffiti and stuff in the background. If I used 2.8, it would have been gone. The focal length was 165. Yeah. So this backs up exactly what you were saying, Aaron, that if someone just said, look at your live feed, look at your live view, David. What's going on there?
It looks good to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that meant. We just that
I see everything good.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Don't know what that was. But anyway, so yeah, if you look at that, so even though I've shot at 5.6 here at 165 mil, it shows you what Aaron was talking about exactly before, because I've got that it's got the depth of field that's showing there, but you can still tell what it is. Like, I wanted to make sure that you could see that this stood out. Now, you've just got to be careful because she's got black and against this dark background. Any darker, I would have had to add a second light in the back to separate her, and I didn't do that in this case because I thought there was just enough separation. Where you got to be careful is at least you can see where the dress sort of comes off the shoulder here, and even here in the hair still separates. If this was any darker, I would have put a second flash behind here and that would have lit up a bit of rim lighting around the edge. But I didn't need it in this case because I was happy with the results that I got. I always take 2 to 3 flashes with me. You were drawing behind Aaron. Oh, that's interesting. So that's probably what was happening with the live feed. So it was doing something a bit funny. Let me check. Is it? Oh, I don't know.
He's drawing kick me on my back.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show that. Wanted to show an image from my Nikon days. This was done with the D600. So it wasn't even a high-end Nikon camera. It was just a D600 camera.
That looks great.
And I had a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. The lens was expensive. This is a perfect example of what you can get with a cheaper camera. You can buy this camera now for dirt cheap, and this is the type of result you'll get on it if you have decent lighting and you've got a decent lens on it. This really is all about the lens, to be honest. It's more about what the lens is giving me here than what the camera is giving me. And it just shows you that with low-end gear, it's still fantastic.
That's what we're talking about.
And just to show you quickly another one, I'll show you another one from the same camera.
Yeah, go. Go for it.
Let me just open this. Now, this was shot at 2.8 this time. Let me make it a bit smaller so you can see it all.
I have to wait for the delay to see your photo.
So there you go. You can see it there. So this was shot at 2.8, again using the D600. So it's just showing you, like I said, guys, don't get caught up in so much that you have to have very, very expensive gear to get nice work.
Yeah,
you don't need it. And, like I said, there's nothing wrong with this image coming from an older camera now. I'd be happy if I took that now with today's gear. So, so it's just interesting. So don't be too caught out by having to have really good images. Now, let me open up Dropbox because I've got to open up Aaron's file. So, Aaron, if you want to just talk for a second, just while I get this open.
Yeah. Now the photo, let me click on this here. The photo I'm going to share, usually I do a little more technical type photos, but let me copy this real quick. Where's our chat?
Is it the, oh no, it's not that one.
I put a link in the description for
it's the
why
one with, it's the one from Star Wars, isn't it? Yeah.
No? Oh, yeah.
All right, let me open up. I've got to make this so we can see it. I know, I love this image. It's beautiful.
Where is my image? I can't find it. Oh, there it is.
All right, so it's in the image now, so you can talk about it because it's on the screen.
Yeah. So now this isn't a very technical photo, but many people over the years when I would show photos of me and my wife, first of all, this is located, and I have to read what this is because I'll forget, but if you guys ever seen Attack of the Clones, a Star Wars movie, Padme and, what's his name, Anakin Skywalker walked out of their room and on Naboo, and so they filmed a lot of different places here in Naboo. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see other photos from this area in Italy, and this was on Lake Como, and I think this place was, I'm going to butcher this name, but Villa del Balbenale, oh my gosh, I just screwed that up, but Tremezzo. Yeah, I can't even speak Spanish where I lived for 11 years.
Aaron, keep talking. I'm just going to go to the door for a second.
Yeah, go for it. He's got another gimbal coming. So people always ask me, like, do you give your camera, because I always take the expensive DSLR type cameras with me, and they always say, do you give your camera to someone to take these photos? And basically, it's just a tripod. I put my wife over there where I'm going to take the photo where we're standing, and that's where I'll do a manual focus on her, and I'll get the composition going and all that stuff on the tripod, and then I just put it on 10-second timer. I mean, this is like no-brainer here, but people ask me all the time. And then I just run over there, and this is one of our kind of classic poses that we do, and I just pick her up and we do the pose, and you can hear the camera go off, or if you can't hear it, you know it's gone off 10 seconds later, and then I'll run back over. Now you can use the app. That sometimes I use the app where you can just click it, put it in your pocket on the phone, click it, put it in your pocket, and do it again. Or sometimes it's just quicker just to me to run over there, hit the shutter button again, give me 10 more seconds, pose myself, get the photo. After we take like 2 or 3, then we both come over and we look at it, make sure we like it, make sure it looks good and all that. If not, we'll do it again. But that's basically how I do all my selfies when you see me and my wife in the shots, is just on a tripod, and I have her stand there. I focus on her and get all the composition and light right. I don't think I've ever did a flash selfie of us. I mean, in a studio scenario we did, but not when we're on vacation. So that's it. So anybody that wants to know if I give my camera to a bypasser to take our photo, no. If it's maybe an iPhone type thing, but for one, I don't feel comfortable giving my camera to a passerby, and they're probably not going to get the photo like I want it. So, yep, tripod and 10-second timer.
So, Aaron,
David,
because I had to run out. Was there a flash in this?
No, I was telling them when people see me and my wife in a photo like this, I almost never use flash. I use a tripod 10-second timer. And I don't know if you missed it, but people always ask me, do you give your camera to a passerby to take your photos like this? And absolutely not, because for one, they're not going to capture what I want, and it might be blurry and all these things. And I just use manual focus, put it on a tripod, tell my wife to stand there. We think about what pose we're going to do. I press the shutter button and I run over there and we do our poses. Take like 3 or 4, then we both check it, make sure it looks good, and then we move on. So pretty basic.
Did you have to bring the shadows way back in post?
It wasn't too bad actually here. I brought them back a little bit, but it wasn't too bad to start with. So we kind of got lucky on this. But a lot of our shots, yes, I do, because of natural. You see how bright it is back there. Got to bring them way up. But this wasn't so bad. I mean, you could still see detail. I don't know how many, maybe a stop and a half. I don't know. Is that a lot?
I suppose it's lucky because you're standing in the sun. But I was just wondering, because you want to keep that sky, that the thing for me that makes this image is that you've kept the background exposed correctly, right? That's what makes this stand out for me. But you've still got the detail showing in the foreground, which is the dynamic range that sensor's given you the ability to do that.
Also, how I usually expose for skies, no matter what camera I'm on, there's a big discussion on a group I did before about using zebras in photography to get my exposures, and they're trying to tell me that I'm completely wrong, but this is what I get, and it works. So they're trying to tell me that I'm wrong when it works for me, so whatever. But I put it on zebras, and I put it on 100, 105 if some cameras have it, some have 100. And I'll expose to where I get zebras. I know that should be 100, but it's actually not. It's still giving you a little bit of cushion. And so when I expose a shot like this, I go expose to the right, just enough before it clips. That way I'm bringing the shadows up as much as possible. And using your camera enough, you kind of know that I can use 105 zebra and go right up there and come back just a little bit to where there's a little bit of zebra, and I know that I can bring the, like that. But it really wasn't that much. I didn't feel like some shots are like all the way. It wasn't even that. It was just a little bit in post. And it came, and then of course the highlights it down. It wasn't all the way maxed out or nothing like that, and it came out pretty good. So
Casper's saying it's fake.
Yeah, it's fake skies. I used the Luminar, Luminar 4.
I love it.
Oh man, you'll never know now.
All right, let's quickly go to questions. So I'm going to look for anything where our name is highlighted. So put Q&A on the thing if you can, Aaron. Let's
I'm trying to find my. Where'd my thing go?
Where were we?
Wait.
Jim said, David G's awesome image. Thank you, Jim. And he said another awesome image when I showed the second one. Thanks so much. Photo Mia's in here as well as Casper. So the banter is about to start probably. Now, I am the Brown said I needed a toilet break. I love it. David got a new camera bag with a gimbal light in it. I have got a new gimbal in there. Oh, I can't wait to play around with that.
What did you just get at the door? Can we know?
Some prints. It was some prints. So I've got some prints for some clients. Yeah, so it was only that. So it's not anything hardware-y that I was excited about. Italy, Mark said Italy is so photogenic, and it sure is because I've been following Aaron's photos. He's got a lot in the photography, videography school, so check them out there, and there's stacks of good ones that he got.
Yeah, just amazing. You know what? Also, if you go to any Facebook group, you can put search this group, and if you see a photo you like by somebody, like wow, I like their work, let me see more. A lot of people don't know this, but you just go into the search in this group, and like if you want to see the rest of my Italy photos, you can put Aaron J. Anderson. It's just one Aronj Anderson, and then you can see all the posts that I've done. So if you see, if you see anybody that you like, you could just search, and you can see their photos in our group.
Now, someone asked too, because you sell a fair bit of gear, Aaron, when you change cameras, who do you use to sell your gear through?
In the past, I would do eBay, and then I would do B&H too, because they have you could trade in stuff and then use store credit, and they're pretty reputable to get stuff back as well through them. So that's usually what I do. Very rarely do I sell it here on the island because I don't really know a lot of people who don't want to buy it, so basically eBay.
Okay. Someone also said in a question, if you use the Sony A7R IV, one lens could work even better because you can use it in crop mode, and that's true. See, that's one big advantage when you have high megapixel cameras. Like you get about 26 megapixels if you're dealing with the A7R IV, which is amazing. Martin said,
yeah, really cool.
Just bought the Sony A7R IV, but I can't get gallery or editing programs like Snapseed on my Samsung S10 to open the files. Any ideas? I'd say it's probably just that those programs have to be updated.
Files are too big?
Well, it may be that they just have to be updated. I don't know because I don't use Samsung. I've got Apple, and Apple are usually pretty quick on getting files into their system. But I'm
I
not
use
sure
Apple
about
too,
Samsung.
so I'm not sure.
So someone may be able to answer that for you, Martin, but I can't because I don't use that as well. I can do a whole shoot on the 55, Richard said. Yeah, I love the 55 1.8. That's amazing.
And Studio 96 says selfies with time lapse is easier. We actually do that if you I'm kind of, I'm fairly new. I've only been here for one Christmas with David and the Facebook group and all that. But when we do our photographs with our dogs, I always use time lapse because when we're just doing me and my wife, we know exactly how to pose, what we're doing. So it's like 3 or 4 shots, we're done. But when we're with our dogs, man, I'll hold one. Sadly, one of us isn't going to be here. One of our dogs isn't going to be here with us this Christmas. But usually she'll hold the smaller dog and I'll hold the bigger dog. And we'll put the camera on a time-lapse feature. So I'm glad you brought this up, Studio 96, I think that's what it was. And we'll press it, and it just clicks every 2 seconds or whatever it is. And we'll just sit there and we'll be like, hey, what is that? What is that? Look at that. And we're just doing these funny things to get the dogs to like, oh, what is that? And that's the way to capture dogs or animals or kids when you're trying to do that, because then you can go through all those, hundreds of photos you took in a time-lapse sequence and then choose the right one. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Scott said that I use zebras too. I do as well. I always have zebras set in. If I'm doing video, I use histograms as well. Mark said, I do agree. Helpful. Aaron needs a good Rode mic, but why have a go at him? Why? Was you having issues with your mic? It sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Yeah, it could be. See, sometimes, like Aaron sounds fantastic to me. Sometimes it can be YouTube does weird things because Aaron's obviously coming to me from Puerto Rico, then we're going back out again, and it can do funny things sometimes. What else have we got? Photomix says, isn't that where you were in I was talking to someone else. Matthew said, hi guys, the highlight protection exposure on the A6600 is awesome. Haven't come across this on Panasonic or Nikon. Yeah, I never used that, Matthew. Did you ever use that, Aaron, the highlight protection?
What was it?
Well, it's a setting you can click on. It's part of your exposure. You can set on there whether you want highlight protection set on. But I found with that on, it made my images too flatter than what I was happy with. I prefer to expose for the highlights and then bring up the shadows. But
yeah, that's the same exact with me. I just didn't like what I was getting from it, and I didn't see any issues the way I exposing anyways. But I have tried it, and just like you said, I got just, I don't know, just like too flat, I guess. It was just like, I just didn't see the need for it. Putting it in zebras, if you really want to run around and get quick shots, I've always used just all manual. I'd be running around a wedding, just manual everything, manual flash, manual everything. Just I got really good at it, and I'd never lost a moment. But just in the last maybe year or so, I started using aperture priority and using zebras. And I mean, how easy is that? An auto ISO. I'm not talking about like low light situation where, and then you have the shutter speed. You can say don't go below 1/60th, and all these new like settings that it's so easy. Don't let it go below 60. Let's say that's about this, depending on what you're shooting. It's not going to go below 60. You got ISO not to go above, let's say 6400. You got aperture priority, and then you got zebras, and then you just point your camera over there. You focus, and wherever you see zebras, like, ooh, I don't want that to have zebras. You just back off the exposure compensation dial, and you take the shot. It's like it's so easy and quick that's kind of what I've been doing a lot lately. So
see,
yeah.
I love, and this is the amazing thing. You probably have this in the G9. I don't know, but I remember I had it in the GH5. Is waveforms. I used to love using waveforms to get exposure because it's so accurate, and that's why I love using something like the Ninja V. It's incredible.
Yeah, with the waveform.
You get the thing between 0 and 100. You get the full range, and you can see in the waveform, like if you put a person there, you can actually see the shape of the person, and you can see where that is sitting inside the actual exposure. So waveforms, if you can use them, are amazing. And I just don't understand why camera manufacturers don't put them in, like Sony and others don't put waveforms in, because they are brilliant, amazing.
I've done videos. Yeah, I've done videos in the past with Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, talking about waveforms, and it's showing you like it's an IRE graph when it's when you see like you said. Whether you're doing a photo or a video, you can see the person. Like if you tell them to move, you can see like their blobby image kind of move. And depending on their skin tone, usually it's around that 70 IRE. Yeah, 70 IRE is like right where you want skin tone. So when you're looking at your monitor and you see the IRE lines, and you can see 70 here, and once you start adjusting the monitor, once you see their little blurry blob of, that's their face going up to that 70-ish IRE area, you know that you've nailed skin tone. So yeah, those are really good to use.
Yep, and that's about it, guys. So please, if you can, give us a thumbs up and share, because it does help us out. Like I said, we're both unsponsored, so it does make a difference because it gets the video out there. So please
yes, thumbs
away.
up. I got a thumbs it up.
Any questions, if you have them, leave it down below, and we'll get back to you. Aaron and myself check all through these shows, so we make sure we all check.
Yep.
And apart from that, we'll see you on next week's show. I will be back on Friday, probably Friday, depends on the news, but I should be back on Friday with the Sony Alpha News and Rumors show. What have you got? Anything coming up, Aaron?
Just some more Panasonic stuff. If you haven't seen the new video, go check it out on why I switched to Panasonic, and maybe you'll enjoy the intro. I'm starting to do a little more, like...
I love the intro. It's cool. I'm not going to say what it is. It's cool. Yeah.
Well, I stopped doing like short films just because it takes so much time, and I do got a lot of skills in all the special effects and stuff. I said, how can I use that? And a little bit of time that I have to do these YouTube videos, I'm going to start doing little fun intros that uses my skills of videography to do some if I have the time. So check that out. It's kind of cool. Go to my Aaron J. Anderson YouTube channel. Give me a subscribe.
I'll have that down below, guys. Aaron's channel will be in the box down below.
In the description.
Yep.
And the thing is, usually we do it on my channel one week and his on the other, but I've been so busy, it's been easier to do it on his. So maybe we'll pop over there. And also Instagram. We both got Instagram. Check our Instagrams out as well. And that's about it, David.
No worries. So thanks so much, everyone. And apart from that...
Thank you guys so much for stopping by.
We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
I would say